Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. So let's start with the late one, Rupp Arena. I know a lot of you, we talk a lot of Kentucky on this show, but it feels like there is always something going on with this team. They host the Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee comes in off a loss. Kentucky comes off a loss. Rupp Arena is hopping. You think you're going to get the best effort out of Kentucky that you could possibly get. Instead, it's kind of the exact opposite. Tennessee comes out focused, ready to play, ready to go, all that good stuff. Tennessee gets the win 103-92 at Rupp Arena. And I'm here to say, thought this was a very definitive win for both teams, maybe a statement, or not a definitive win, a definitive game for both teams. Think you could argue it was a statement game for both teams as well. Very positive statement for Tennessee. And what the heck is going on at Kentucky? Let's go ahead and dive in. And I do want to start with the Kentucky Wildcats. Now, listen, Tennessee, we're going to get to them. They're really good. They're really good. I actually think they might be a little bit underrated on the national scale. But as I often say on this show, the more interesting story is often in the losing locker room. And that is absolutely the case for the Kentucky Wildcats. And what's frustrating, what's disappointing, I got to go ahead and own this. We talked about it in Aaron Right, Aaron Wrong on Friday's show. I was the guy 3 weeks ago saying there are three teams that are better than everybody else: UConn, Carolina, and Kentucky. Well, UConn's still good. Carolina's still good. We're going to talk about them in a minute. But Kentucky has completely fallen off a cliff. By the way, it was 2 weeks ago, literally 2 weeks ago today, I was saying I think Kentucky might be the best team in the country after that Big Z debut, 13 points, throwing the ball behind his back. It looks like the Harlem Globetrotters out there, and it's been a debacle since. You lose at South Carolina. Listen, I don't think that is by any stretch a bad loss, especially given what Carolina has done as of late. You go to Rupp Arena, not really the best performance, but you find a way to win. Then you lose on Wednesday to Florida. Then you lose on Saturday at home to Tennessee. And I think what's especially frustrating is the effort that you got. You don't need me to tell you, but as I just said, at home, top 10 team in town, a rival in town, a team that your fan base cares about beating and losing to. I get that you're Kentucky. I get you want to win every game. But the Tennessee game matters, especially since Rick Barnes has gotten there. And historically, Tennessee, since Rick Barnes has been there, has had success against Kentucky. So you want to see a better effort. Instead, I don't even know what that effort was, as really you basically got you got a good game from essentially one player, that was Rob Dillingham. I know it's been stated by other people in the media, if Rob Dillingham doesn't go for 35, that might be a 25-point loss. And so I want to dive in. And when I look at Kentucky, I see two major issues. One that everybody's talking about, and one that I think, frankly, people aren't talking about enough. Now, the one everybody's talking about, listen, the defense, it's just not good enough. And you know, I'm not the guy. I don't do scheme stuff. I don't talk about, well, on the dribble handoff, if you ice the ball, it's like, no, nobody cares. But at the end of the day, just look at the stat sheet, okay? I know analytics people get mad when you just say, look at the stat sheet, use your eyes. But that was an embarrassment of epic proportions. It's not just that you gave up 103 points to Tennessee. Remember, by the way, South Carolina, a team that is committed on the defensive end, gave up 59 points to Tennessee the other day in Knoxville. So Tennessee, I don't want to say essentially doubled their point total, but they kind of essentially doubled their point total. They got almost double what they got at home against South Carolina the other day. And you look at the stat sheet, the crazy part was Dalton Knecht, their star, didn't even play well. If you want to give Kentucky credit for anything, they actually did a pretty good job of taking Dalton Knecht out of the game plan. You know, he finished with a respectable stat line, but it wasn't unbelievable in this game. He was really quiet, but the problem was everybody else was awesome. Zakai Ziegler had a career-high 26 points. Josiah Jordan-James had a career-high 26 points in this game. Dalton Knecht is held to 16, but it doesn't matter if literally everybody else has a career night. And if you watch the game, it's all a mess right now. It's all a mess right now. The guards nobody can stay in front of them. The bigs I thought were miserable. Agana and Yenso, I give him credit. He had 13 and 15 the other night, like 13 points, 15 rebounds, 8 assists, or 8 blocks, something like that. He was getting bullied in the paint. He wanted nothing to do with it. There were 2 or 3 plays where Jonas Adu just kind of threw an elbow into him. He backed off and he backed down. Aaron Bradshaw, I know there was the pushing and shoving with Awaka. I actually didn't mind that because at least you're defending your teammate and you're showing a little bit of heart. But the defense was embarrassing and nobody gave any effort. It's not good enough. It's not acceptable. Tennessee is not good offensively, not good enough to make you look the way that they did. By the way, for a Tennessee fan coming across this podcast or video, I promise you I will get to your team because your team is awesome. But the defensive effort has to be better. And obviously, me, like a lot of people, is sitting there saying, well, wait a second now. It's February 4th, 5th, 6th when you're listening to this. When is it going to get better? It's got to get better right now. It's getting worse instead. But you want to know, in my opinion, the real problem that Kentucky has that nobody's talking about? I mean, Calipari talked about it, but I said this on Twitter before he went to the podium on Saturday night. Kentucky needs DJ Wagner, their starting point guard, the freshman, okay? And for people who don't follow Kentucky on a day-to-day basis, listen, what I would say is, statistically, he's not the best player. Antonio Reeves is, whatever, da-da-da-da-da. And I would add that even a Kentucky fan would sit there and say, Torres, we gave up 103 points. We scored 92 points. It doesn't matter if we had, whatever. If we had Steph Curry, if we had whoever, you're not going to win games when you give up 103 points. And so I get that. And I'm not here to say that DJ Wagner would magically wave a wand and you win that game 87-72 and you get a much better defensive effort. The defense has to be better. I get all that. But when I was watching Kentucky on Saturday, I don't think that I realized how important he is to what they do and how they operate. Because when he is not in, and for people who don't know, he's been dealing with an ankle injury. It's a weird thing. Every year, Kentucky fans are getting frustrated. I understand. Feels like every year there's a weird injury that pops up out of nowhere that nobody can explain. Well, DJ Wagner played at Arkansas a few days ago, seemed to be fine. Then all of a sudden does not play on Wednesday against Florida, does not play on Saturday against Tennessee. And everyone's like, what's going on? But why this is so important to me is because when you look at DJ Wagner, he is really important to what they do. And I believe more importantly, he allows them to be the best version of themselves. And I think we saw it on Saturday night. So even to backtrack, everybody makes fun of Calipari because Reed Sheppard and Rob Dillingham, 2 likely lottery picks, are coming off the bench. That's the best version of Kentucky. I hate to tell you that because it allows Reed Sheppard and Rob Dillingham to be the best versions of themselves. Reed Sheppard is best when he is playing off the ball. He can create for himself. He can create for others. Now, he can play point guard, and he does it very well in 6, 7, 8-minute increments. What you don't want is him playing 37 minutes as your primary playmaker like he had to do on Saturday. Ideally, you want him coming off the bench. You want him to be your backup point guard who can also play off the ball, can still play 30 minutes, 28 minutes, whatever, but you don't want him 37 minutes as your primary playmaker. Rob Dillingham, it's the same. Listen, the 35 points was unbelievable, but I think even in that game, you saw Rob Dillingham, even at the college level, is not a guy that you want playing 30, 32, 34 minutes. Was really hot early in the game. Second half was not good at all for about the first 8-9 minutes. Then Kentucky falls way down, and then Dillingham is incredible again, getting bucket after bucket after bucket after bucket and making it close once again. And so when DJ Wagner is in, it allows all of the other pieces to come together. DJ Wagner's the primary playmaker. Reed Sheppard comes off the bench, can be a backup point guard, can be your primary point guard when DJ Wagner's out. Rob Dillingham doesn't have to play 28, 29, 30, 32 minutes. That's not who Rob Dillingham is, and that's not what he does best. And so for Kentucky, I'm trying to be patient here. If you're watching on YouTube, you just saw my face just basically go white. But it's like I'm trying to not overreact because Saturday was a debacle, and I'm not trying to underreact either. I'm not going to try to sit here and say everything's going to be fine. Everybody take a deep breath. You're going to be okay. We're going to win it. No, it wasn't good. but I also don't know that I could fairly judge this team without all of their best players on the court at once. And I know what a Kentucky fan would say to that. Well, we haven't had the same starting, or we haven't had a full complement of guys all season long. And I've actually had a lot of Kentucky fans ask me, is that normal? What I would say is it actually largely is. UConn, my school, basically hasn't had their starting team together the entire season. Klingon was hurt early. He comes back. Steph Castle gets hurt. He comes back. Klingon gets hurt again. Klingon comes back. Alex Karaman didn't play on Saturday. So this does happen other places, but you need DJ Wagner. And so you look at the last couple weeks, South Carolina was really bad. Tennessee was really bad. Now you were a player or two away from beating Florida. And if you win that game, maybe this feels a little bit different, but you need DJ. You need DJ Wagner. Go DJ. That's my DJ. You need him. You don't have him. And until I see this team with him, it's hard for me to say the sky is falling. Now the defense needs to get much better, but at least with him in the lineup, I think the offense is a little bit better and the defense is a little bit better. And if you're a little bit better on offense and a little bit better on defense, maybe things go differently, but that was bad from Kentucky. There's another day, another time to talk about Calipari. Didn't go to the post-game radio, requirements. It's weird. It's getting weird there. It's getting weird there indeed.